Comparison is a thief of growth, and it quietly creeps into our lives in ways we often do not even recognize. Every time we look at someone else's success and measure our worth against it, we diminish our own progress. It is like planting a seed in your garden, but spending every moment staring at your neighbor's tree, wondering why yours is not growing as tall or as fast. You water it less, you forget to nurture it, and eventually you believe it is not capable of blossoming. The truth is, your seed holds all the potential for greatness, but comparison robs you of the patience and belief required to allow it to flourish. When you compare yourself to others, you are essentially telling yourself that their journey should dictate the pace of your own. You dismiss the uniqueness of your path, the struggles that shaped you, and the hidden strengths that lie within you. Growth is deeply personal. It is not meant to be measured by how quickly or slowly someone else is moving. Yet many of us spend precious time watching others, scrolling through their achievements, counting their victories, and magnifying our own shortcomings. This habit drains our confidence and distracts us from the work that actually matters, the work on ourselves. Think about it. Every time you focus on what others are doing, you are giving away your energy, attention, and creativity to something you cannot control. You cannot control their opportunities, their background, or their choices, but you can control your own. Comparison shifts your focus from abundance to scarcity, from possibility to limitation, from empowerment to discouragement. It blinds you to your own potential because you are too busy looking at someone else's highlights. Growth, however, comes from a completely different place. It comes from recognizing where you are today, identifying the steps you can take right now, and moving steadily forward without distraction. Real growth does not require you to outperform anyone else. It only requires you to become better than the version of yourself you were yesterday. That is the only comparison that truly matters, the comparison with yourself. When you adopt this mindset, life begins to change. Instead of looking outward and feeling small, you look inward and feel empowered. You begin to notice the progress you make, no matter how small, and each step builds momentum. Your confidence grows, not because you have surpassed others, but because you know you are advancing in your own way. Comparison often makes people chase goals that were never theirs in the first place. You see someone achieve something, and suddenly you feel pressured to want it too, even if it has no connection to your passions or your purpose. You lose yourself trying to run someone else's race, and in doing so, you deny yourself the opportunity to discover your true strengths. But when you focus on your growth, your goals are authentic. They align with your vision, your desires, and your unique potential. That authenticity fuels persistence, because you are not chasing shadows, you are pursuing what truly matters to you. The irony is that the people you compare yourself to also have their struggles, their fears, and their doubts, most of which you never see. You only see the surface, the polished version, the result without the process. And so, you are comparing your behind the scenes with someone else's highlight reel, which will always leave you feeling unworthy. Growth requires honesty with yourself, not illusions about others. It demands that you stay grounded in your reality and commit to progress even when it is slow, even when no one notices, and even when others seem far ahead. Because the truth is, you are not late, you are not behind, you are exactly where you are supposed to be. Growth unfolds at its own pace, and it cannot be rushed by looking at another's timeline. Every moment you waste on comparison could have been a moment of practice, of learning, of building, of nurturing your own seed. Just like a flower does not compete with the one blooming beside it, your growth does not require another's failure or approval. All it requires is your focus, your dedication, and your willingness to keep moving forward without distraction. Comparison will always tempt you, but you must recognize it for what it is, a thief that steals your joy, your focus, and your growth. When you learn to silence that noise, to bring your attention back to your own journey, you reclaim your power. You begin to create rather than imitate, to progress rather than compete, and to grow in ways that are truly your own. Your mind is your greatest asset, and it is the starting point of everything you will ever accomplish. Every invention, every achievement, every transformation began as nothing more than a thought, a small idea that someone allowed to take root and expand. Most people underestimate the power of the mind because it is invisible, intangible, and cannot be measured in the same way material possessions can. Yet it is the very source from which all progress flows. The way you think shapes the way you feel, and the way you feel determines the way you act, and your actions ultimately create the results you experience in life. If you allow your mind to be filled with doubt, fear, and limitation, you will act cautiously, hesitantly, and you will never reach your true potential. But if you fill your mind with belief, with possibility, and with discipline, your actions will naturally align with those thoughts, and your results will reflect the greatness of the mindset you chose to cultivate. It is not circumstances that determine the quality of your life, but the way your mind interprets and responds to those circumstances. Two people can go through the same event. One will see failure, while the other sees opportunity, and the difference lies not in the event itself, but in the perspective created by the mind. Your mind is like a fertile field, and every thought you entertain is a seed planted into it. Some seeds grow into weeds of negativity, self-doubt, and fear, choking out your potential before it ever has a chance to grow. Other seeds grow into strong trees of confidence, resilience, and creativity that bear fruit for years to come. The mind does not choose which seeds to grow. It nurtures whatever you plant, whether positive or negative. That is why you must become a careful guardian of your thoughts, because they are the architects of your future. If you spend your days focusing on what you lack, on what could go wrong, or on how impossible something seems, then your reality will mirror that scarcity. But if you discipline your mind to focus on abundance, on growth, on possibility, then your reality will expand to match that vision. This is not abstract philosophy. It is the very foundation of success that has guided dreamers, leaders, and creators throughout history. Think of people who have risen from nothing, those who built empires despite having no resources, no connections, no obvious advantages. The one thing they had in common was a strong, disciplined mind. They believed in their vision long before it was visible to anyone else, and they refused to allow limiting thoughts to dominate their mental space. They nurtured the belief that they were capable, and that belief guided their actions until their dream became a reality. On the other hand, countless people with talent, skills, and opportunities never achieve greatness simply because their mind is filled with doubt and fear. They have everything on the outside but nothing on the inside, and the inside is what truly counts. Your mind also acts as a filter between you and the world. Every piece of information, every comment, every situation passes through it, and the way you interpret these experiences depends entirely on the state of your thoughts. If your mind is wired to see challenges as obstacles, you will retreat. But if it is wired to see challenges as opportunities, you will advance. Training your mind is no different from training your body. It requires daily effort, repetition, and discipline. You cannot go to the gym once and expect lasting strength. And you cannot think a positive thought once and expect lasting success. You must feed your mind with empowering ideas, surround yourself with influences that lift you higher, and protect it from the noise of negativity that is constantly trying to seep in. The mind's true power lies in its ability to create images, to visualize, and to hold on to those images until they manifest into reality. When you vividly imagine yourself succeeding, your subconscious begins to accept it as truth, and your actions align with that vision almost automatically. This is why people who set clear goals and see themselves already achieving them tend to make faster progress. They are programming their minds for success, and the mind cannot distinguish between what is vividly imagined and what is real. The more you focus on those images, the more your behavior aligns with them, and the more real they become. But if your mind is filled with images of failure, rejection, or inadequacy, then your actions will unconsciously steer you toward those very outcomes. Most people allow their minds to be controlled by outside influences, by the news, by social media, by the opinions of others, and they wonder why their lives feel scattered and unfulfilled. The key is to take ownership of your mind, to treat it as the most valuable possession you have, because it is. Money can be lost, possessions can be taken, circumstances can change, but the mind remains yours to direct. The way you develop it, protect it, and use it will determine everything else. If you discipline your mind, your world will follow. If you neglect it, your world will reflect that neglect. When you truly understand this, you begin to realize that focusing on the development of your mind is not optional. It is essential, because it is the root of everything you will ever achieve. Progress over perfection is one of the most liberating principles you can ever embrace, because perfection is an illusion that keeps people stuck, while progress is the reality that moves them forward. Too many people delay their dreams, their ideas, their goals, simply because they are waiting for the perfect time, the perfect plan, or the perfect version of themselves before they begin. But life does not reward those who wait endlessly for perfection. It rewards those who take action, even if it is small, messy, and imperfect. Every great achievement in history started with an imperfect first step. The people who invented airplanes did not create flawless machines on their first attempt. They built rough, unstable versions that often failed, but each failure carried lessons, and each lesson led to progress. That progress eventually gave the world the gift of flight. If they had waited for perfection before they started, humanity might still be walking on the ground dreaming of the skies. Perfection sets up an impossible standard because it assumes there is a final state where nothing can be improved, and that simply does not exist. Growth is continuous, and even when you reach a certain level of success, there will always be room for improvement. Perfectionists often get paralyzed because they fear making mistakes. They fear judgment, and they fear not living up to an imagined standard, and in that paralysis, they do nothing. But those who value progress understand that mistakes are not signs of failure. They are stepping stones that carve the path to mastery. Progress requires courage to act before you feel ready, to start before all the answers are clear, and to learn as you move forward. That courage builds momentum, and momentum is far more valuable than waiting for the illusion of perfection. When you focus on progress, you allow yourself to celebrate small wins, and those small wins compound into massive achievements over time. Imagine a person who commits to improving themselves just 1% each day. That improvement may seem invisible in the moment, but compounded over weeks, months, and years, it becomes transformation. On the other hand, someone who waits for the perfect conditions may never begin at all, and years later they look back with regret, realizing that their obsession with perfection cost them a chance to grow. Progress builds confidence because each step forward shows you that you are capable of more than you thought. Perfection, on the other hand, breeds self-doubt because the standard is unreachable and the effort feels wasted. Progress also shifts your focus from external validation to internal growth. If you are seeking perfection, you are often doing it to prove something to others, to appear flawless in their eyes, to avoid criticism. But if your focus is progress, you are not measuring yourself against the opinions of others. You are measuring yourself against who you were yesterday. That is the only comparison that truly matters, and it is empowering because it is within your control. No one else can dictate whether you grow. That choice belongs entirely to you, and when you choose progress, you create a life that is dynamic, evolving, and filled with learning rather than stagnant and paralyzed by fear. Think of an artist painting a masterpiece. If they wait until their skills are perfect before they begin, the canvas will remain blank forever. But if they start with what they know, even if the strokes are imperfect, they will learn through practice, experiment with colors, refine their techniques, and eventually create something extraordinary. The process of progress is what produces the masterpiece, not waiting for perfection beforehand. The same applies to any field: business, education, health, or personal growth. The willingness to take imperfect action is the bridge between where you are now and where you want to be. Progress also allows flexibility, while perfection is rigid. When you aim for perfection, you fear change because any adjustment feels like failure. But when you value progress, you adapt easily. You see setbacks as feedback, and you use them to adjust your course. That adaptability is what keeps you moving forward while others are stuck, frozen by the need to appear flawless. Progress gives you freedom to experiment, to try new paths, and to grow through trial and error. Perfection imprisons you in hesitation, waiting endlessly for certainty that will never come. The pursuit of progress also strengthens resilience. Each step forward builds endurance, each challenge overcome develops inner strength, and each lesson learned equips you for the next stage. Perfection, however, weakens resilience because the first sign of imperfection feels like disaster. People who demand perfection often quit early because the reality of failure crushes them, while people who seek progress expect failure and use it as a tool for growth. This mindset shift makes all the difference between those who stop at the first obstacle and those who keep moving until they reach their vision. At the heart of it, progress over perfection is about giving yourself permission to be human, to grow, to stumble, and to rise again. It is about recognizing that your journey will never be a straight line, and that is exactly what makes it valuable. Progress turns fear into fuel, doubt into determination, and mistakes into lessons. It transforms the impossible into the possible, one step at a time, without demanding that you be flawless before you begin. It is a principle that not only accelerates success, but also makes the process of pursuing it far more fulfilling, because instead of waiting endlessly for the perfect outcome, you get to live, grow, and experience the richness of the journey itself. Energy flows where attention goes, and this truth governs every aspect of your life, whether you recognize it or not. Whatever you consistently give your attention to expands. It grows stronger. It gains influence over your thoughts and your actions, until it becomes the dominant force shaping your results. If you spend your days consumed by what others are doing, by their successes, their choices, and their lives, you are pouring your energy into something that does nothing to advance your own. That energy could have been invested in your own growth, your own vision, your own potential, but instead it gets scattered outward, leaving you drained and stagnant. Attention is a form of currency, and it is one of the most valuable resources you possess. Every moment you give away your attention to distractions or comparisons is a moment you cannot reclaim, and the results in your life will always reflect the direction of that attention. When you choose to direct your focus inward, toward your goals, your habits, and your dreams, the energy within you begins to build momentum. This momentum attracts opportunities, fuels creativity, and strengthens determination. People often wonder why some individuals seem to achieve so much with the same 24 hours in a day, and the answer lies in focus. They have disciplined their attention, refusing to scatter it across things that do not serve their vision, and as a result, their energy is channeled like a laser, cutting through obstacles and producing results that others only dream of. Energy is never neutral. It either propels you forward or pulls you away, depending on where you choose to place your attention. Consider the way sunlight can warm a room when it shines broadly through a window, but when concentrated through a magnifying glass, it has the power to ignite a flame. That is the difference between scattered attention and focused attention. Scattered attention warms the surface of your life without ever creating true transformation, while focused attention channels energy so powerfully that it can ignite extraordinary growth. If your mind is always occupied with distractions, what others think of you, what others are achieving, what others are posting, your energy is scattered across 1,000 directions, and you wonder why you feel exhausted yet unfulfilled. The exhaustion does not come from hard work, it comes from divided focus. The fulfillment does not come from perfection, it comes from the clarity of knowing that your energy is being invested into what matters to you. Your attention is also what gives meaning to your experiences. Two people can live through the same event and walk away with completely different outcomes based on where their attention was directed. One may focus on the struggle, seeing only pain, while the other may focus on the lesson, seeing opportunity for growth. The energy they carry forward will reflect that focus. This is why training your attention is so critical, because life is constantly presenting you with both problems and possibilities, and whichever one you choose to focus on becomes the reality you live in. If you continually fix your attention on obstacles, your energy feeds those obstacles until they appear insurmountable. But if you train your mind to focus on solutions, your energy fuels creativity and resourcefulness, and suddenly challenges become stepping stones instead of barriers. The world around you is designed to pull at your attention from every angle. Notifications, opinions, endless comparisons, the noise of society, it all competes for your focus. If you are not deliberate, you will spend your life reacting to whatever demands your attention instead of directing it toward what creates your growth. Mastery of life does not come from controlling everything outside of you. It comes from controlling where your energy flows inside of you. If you wake up each day with no intention, your attention will be hijacked by whatever appears most urgent, leaving you drained at the end of the day with little progress made toward your real goals. But if you begin the day with clarity, choosing deliberately what to give your focus to, you will find that your energy flows naturally in that direction, and the results follow. Energy is not infinite, and this is why you must protect it. You cannot afford to waste it on resentment, jealousy, gossip, or endless comparison, because those things yield nothing but frustration. They consume your focus while giving you nothing in return. Instead, every ounce of energy should be invested in building yourself, nurturing your vision, and expanding your abilities. When your attention is aligned with your goals, you will notice that doors begin to open, not because of luck, but because your focused energy makes you aware of opportunities you would have otherwise overlooked. Think of an athlete training for competition. If their attention is constantly on their rivals, they waste energy worrying about what others are doing instead of sharpening their own performance. But the athlete who channels all energy into their own training, their own improvement, and their own strategy will inevitably outgrow the competition, because their attention fuels their progress. The same principle applies in business, in education, in relationships, in personal growth. The direction of your attention determines the strength of your energy, and the strength of your energy determines the results you create. Every successful person understands that what you focus on expands. If you focus on fear, fear grows. If you focus on doubt, doubt grows. If you focus on growth, growth expands. Your life is simply a reflection of the things you consistently give attention to. If you want change, you must redirect your focus. You cannot expect abundance while giving attention to scarcity. You cannot expect peace while giving attention to chaos. And you cannot expect success while giving attention to the distractions of others. The key is not to work harder in 1,000 directions, but to work deliberately in one, pouring your energy into what matters most and allowing that focus to compound into results that transform your life.